When a human engineer saves a powerful alien princess from death on a battlefield, he doesn't realize he just became her chosen mate, and the trigger for an interstellar war. The stars had always whispered secrets to Elias Vaughn, but today they screamed. The ground quaked beneath his boots as the twin suns of Tarkel scorched the horizon. Smoke curled into the burnt orange sky. The high-pitched whine of plasma fire crackled overhead, followed by a shockwave that hurled Elias into a trench carved by war and desperation. His helmet shattered. Blood mixed with ash. His ship had crash-landed only hours ago, pulled from hyperspace, by an ancient gravitational trap in the expanse of Calithea. He'd expected scavengers, pirates, maybe a wandering beast. He hadn't expected a battle between the Aurelians and the Xavar Dominion, two of the galaxy's most powerful alien empires. And now, somehow, he was in the middle of it. As he pulled himself up, Elias spotted a streak of violet and gold through the fire. A war chariot, shattered. Bodies, Aurelian guards, unmistakable in their crystalline armor, lay lifeless around it. And then she appeared, tall, ethereal, radiant, an alien. Woman staggered through the smoke, a plasma blade half lit in her trembling hand. Her deep silver skin shimmered beneath torn robes. Her irises swirled with living light. She locked eyes with Elias and collapsed. "Shit," he muttered, vaulting over wreckage. He knelt beside her, checking for vitals. Faint. She was barely alive. He didn't know her species, but her body temperature, pulse, and blood viscosity were readable on his bioscanner, and her voice, broken, strained, echoed in his translator. "You saved me?" He didn't respond. He hoisted her into his arms, shielding her from another blast as debris rained down around them. He didn't know it yet, but her name was Princess Selira Anvaran of House Virex, heir to the Aurelian throne, and one of the most powerful telekinetics in the known universe, and by Aurelian law, the one who saves a royal's life in battle becomes her bonded. Selira's awakening, hours later, deep in the ruins of a hidden outpost. Selira's eyes fluttered, open. She found herself bandaged, her wounds healing thanks to some kind of human medkit. She sat up too fast and winced. Elias appeared beside her, handing her water and a protein bar. "You shouldn't move yet. 3 broken ribs. And I think your translator is shot. But I patched you up." "You are human," she said slowly, testing the strange tongue on her lips. "From Sol? Earthborn?" "Yeah, Elias Vaughn, engineer, not a soldier." He gave a half smile. "Just passing through your war zone." She tilted her head. "You saved me, carried me from the battlefield, risked your life." He shrugged. Seemed like the decent thing to do. Selira studied him with unnerving intensity. "You must know what this means. To my people." "Nope," Elias said flatly, raising an eyebrow. A slow, strange smile spread across her face. "You are now my bonded, my life debtor, my partner, my future mate." Elias blinked. "Wait, what?" She leaned forward, her face inches from his. "I asked the stars for a sign, and they gave me a human, a strange, kind, irritatingly handsome one." He stepped back. "Okay, let's pump the brakes here. I was just trying to keep you alive." Selira's expression was unreadable. "Then you should have let me die, if you didn't want to become part of something far bigger." Trouble comes fast. Before Elias could argue, the ground shook again. Selira stood, her injuries vanishing. As violet energy rippled from her core, she summoned a floating blade to her side. Her voice was steel. "They found us, Xavar soldiers." "Then we run?" Elias offered. She smirked. "No, human. We fight. Together." 10 armored Xavar. Warriors burst into the outpost. But the moment Selira unleashed her power, they faltered. Blades shattered, armor warped. Elias ducked behind cover, using scavenged tech to overload a power core. He tossed the makeshift bomb and shouted, "Now!" The explosion bathed the ruins in white light. When the smoke cleared, only Salira and Elias stood. He turned to her. "That was insane," she beamed. "You learned quickly, Bonded." Still not calling myself that. She only laughed. The new target moments later, they intercepted a Zivar transmission. Elias translated, pale-faced. "They're sending a kill team. For you, and for me now. They think I'm your consort. You are my consort, Salira. They will come, human. They will try to separate us. But the Aurelian people already know what happened." Her voice lowered. "You've become more than my savior. You are now a symbol of unity, of rebellion, of possibility." She touched his chest. "And if you die, I will raise stars to bring you back." Elias swallowed. He wasn't sure if it was adrenaline, terror, or something far more dangerous blooming in his chest. The next 24 hours were chaos. Elias had imagined space travel as sleek ships, smooth jumps, and stars whizzing past a viewport. Instead, he was duct-taping exposed wires in the back of a busted Aurelian scout cruiser, held together with alien metals, human gumption, and a few well-placed prayers. And beside him, like it was the most natural thing in the galaxy, sat Princess Salira Anvarin, brushing strands of stardust from her hair like royalty in exile. "We're being hunted by both Zivar assassins and half your empire," Elias grunted, crawling out from the ship's open maintenance hatch. "And you're doing your hair," she glanced up with a grin. "Even in war, presentation matters." He wiped his hands on his pants. "You know, for someone who claims to be engaged to me or whatever, you're really calm about us possibly dying." Her expression softened. "Because if we die together, and that is an honorable end for a bonded pair." Elias froze. Still not married to that term. Flashpoint, the moment they left the atmosphere of Calathea's moon. A stealth. Frigate dropped from hyperspace in pursuit. Zevardot Salira's brow furrowed. "They're serious." "Yeah," Elias said, tapping on the outdated flight console. "We're about to be space dust in 3 minutes if I can't boost the shields." Salira stood, her voice low and focused. "Let me buy you 5. She stepped into the rear airlock. Her armor grew from beneath her skin, a shimmering suit of living light, and she launched herself into space, wielding a glowing spear that bent around her like a comet's tail. Elias didn't have time to marvel. He rerouted the auxiliary power. The ship rattled. Outside, Salira danced among laser bursts, impaling Zeva droids mid-flight, ricocheting debris with pure telekinetic force. One blast clipped her shoulder, but her scream only fueled her momentum. Then the frigate locked onto Elias's ship. A voice crackled over the comms. "Deliver the bonded human, or die." He flicked the switch. "I've got a better idea," he said. "You die." Elias activated the core breach failsafe and ejected an overloaded energy cell directly into the frigate's intake. A burst of plasma split the stars. Salira landed on the wing, panting, armor cracked, eyes glowing. "You are terrifying." He blinked at her. "That's the first compliment you've given me." "It won't be the last, Bonded." Strange hearts. After the fight, they drifted into quiet space. Salira sat across from Elias in the cockpit, bruised but regal. "There's something about you," she said softly. "You're not like the warriors I was raised with. You don't seek glory. You don't crave blood." "I'm an engineer," Elias replied. "We build things, not break them." She tilted her head. "And yet, you fight. For me." He shrugged. "Maybe I'm starting to care." Her breath caught. She looked away. A long silence passed before she finally spoke. "In my culture, the bonded can feel each other's hearts, emotions, pain. That link hasn't awakened yet between us. Is that good or bad?" It means we're either resisting it or afraid. He met her eyes. Are you afraid? Yes, she whispered. Of how much I already feel. The confession later that night. Elias dreamed of a starship, swallowed by fire. Of Salira, wounded and falling. Of his hands reaching but never catching her. He awoke gasping, only to find Salira beside him, awake, watching him sleep. I felt your fear, she said, touching his cheek. The bond, it's forming. You sure it's not just shared trauma? She laughed. We're both broken, Elias Vorn, but maybe we fit together that way. He stared at her. Why me, Salira? You could have anyone. I did have everyone, she said, her voice trembling, but no one saw me, not the real me, until you. A pause. Then, without thinking, Elias leaned forward. Their lips met, soft, hesitant, electric. When they pulled apart, Salira smiled like sunrise breaking through storm clouds. So, that was a kiss, Elias said, stunned. Yes, she whispered, and now we're definitely bonded. The bounty the moment couldn't last. An alert chimed. They both turned to the screen. A galactic-wide broadcast from the Xavar High Commander played on a loop. The human Elias Vorn has committed war crimes. Against the Dominion, any system that shelters him will be purged. The Aurelian princess has violated ancient treaties. The price for their capture, 10 million credits, alive or in pieces. Salira stood, fury radiating from her like a sun. They declared war, she hissed. On you. Elias's jaw tightened. Guess I'm more popular than I thought. She turned to him, eyes burning. Then we fight back. Together. He nodded. Together. The stars looked peaceful from afar, but Elias knew better now. He leaned against the hull of the stolen Xavar scout ship, watching Salira train in the artificial gravity chamber. Her spear shimmered in sync with her movements, fluid, precise, devastating. She was royalty, yes, but she was also a warrior. She moved like thunder wrapped in elegance, and Elias? He still felt like a mechanic duct-taped into a revolution. Stop staring, she said without looking at him. He smirked. I wasn't. You were. Your emotions hummed through the bond. Like a star trying not to shine. He stood and crossed the chamber. You always talk in riddles. It's the Aurelian way. Well, maybe it's time for the human way, Elias said, gently placing a hand on her wrist. Direct. Honest. Salira lowered her weapon. Then speak plainly, Bonded. I'm scared, he said. Not of the Xavar, not of dying, but of what happens after. Her eyes searched his. After? After we win. If we survive. What then, Salira? You go back to your throne, I go back to Seoul. What are we to each other? She stepped closer. You are not going back to Seoul, she said, voice trembling, because you are mine. And I am yours. That's what bonded means. I wasn't playing some alien game. His heart raced. I never thought I'd love someone outside my kind, she continued. But here you are, breaking every law, every rule. And my heart. He took her hand. I've never loved someone who could throw a tank with her mind, he replied. But here you are. They kissed again, this time not as strangers, but as souls pulled across galaxies, and for one brief moment, the universe stood still. The rebellion rises. They landed on Aurelia Prime under a fractured moon. Salira's planet, once a world of crystal. Towers and levitating cities now bore the scars of war. Xavar bombers had turned paradise into a memory, but resistance flared in the ruins. A rebel faction, the Virexian Guard, waited at the cliffside landing platform. The captain, an older warrior named Kael Tor, dropped to one knee when he saw her. Princess, we feared you dead. I was nearly, she said. but a human brought me back. Kyle eyed Elias. You bonded with an outsider. She stepped in front of Elias. I bonded with the only person in the galaxy I trust. The captain bowed again. Then we fight for him too. Ghosts of the throne. The resistance led them through hidden tunnels into the shattered throne hall. Elias stared at the mural across the back wall, depicting ancient Aurelians reaching out to the stars. And in the center throne, a hollow space. A void. Selira stood silently. My mother died there, she said quietly, protecting this world. And I ran. You survived, Elias said gently. You lived to reclaim it. She turned to him, voice cracking. What if I'm not ready to lead? What if I'm still that scared girl? He placed a hand over her heart. Then we rule together. Her lip trembled. Even if the galaxy burns, especially if it burns. Betrayal in the shadows, but peace was fleeting. That night, during a secret meeting with rebel leaders, a coded transmission pierced the room. The voice was cold, familiar. This is Commander Threx of the Xavar Dominion. We know the princess has returned. We know she is bonded to the human. Bring him to us, or face orbital annihilation in 24 hours. Panic spread through the chamber. One general stood. We can't fight the Xavar, not without reinforcements. Another shouted, Give them the human! We survive! She rules! Elias stepped forward. No. The room fell silent. I'm not running, and you're not handing me over. We fight, but not because of me, because they want you to believe you're weak. He turned to Selira. Prove them wrong. Forged in flame at dawn, the Aurelian. Towers blazed again, not with destruction, but resistance. Kale's troops armed with hybrid human-tech weapons. Selira in full battle regalia, her armor lined with Elias's circuitry upgrades. And Elias himself, wielding a pulse rifle he barely knew how to use, stood beside her. As the Xavar fleet descended, Selira gripped his hand. You once asked what happens after the war, she said. He nodded. She smiled. I say, we build a new empire. Together. The sky lit up with explosions. They ran into the fire. War had a sound, not just explosions or the crackle of energy weapons. It was the deep, vibrating hum of dread in the bones. The shuddering of walls holding back inevitable collapse. The silence between commands when someone knew they wouldn't survive the next push. Elias stood at the Aurelian command post, now deep underground. The Xavar had arrived in full force. 3 capital ships in orbit, legions of machines raining down like fire. Selira's face was calm, but her pulse echoed in his mind through their bond. You're afraid, he said. She didn't deny it. Yes, but not for myself. You're afraid for me. She turned to him. If they kill you, Elias, I lose more than a war. I lose my future. He touched her cheek. We've come too far to lose now. Then they kissed again, not in secret, not in private, but in the middle of the war room, in full view of her soldiers. When they pulled apart, Kale Tor muttered under his breath, By the stars, she has chosen him. Selira turned to her people, eyes blazing. You followed me when I was lost. Now follow me into victory. We do not kneel to the Xavar. Not now. Not ever. The Aurelians roared. War had begun. The battle for Aurelia Prime. The first wave of Xavar soldiers hit. The city's upper defenses like a meteor storm. Selira led from the front, striking down attackers with her radiant spear. Her armor gleamed, not just a shield, but a beacon of hope. Elias stayed at the command center, rewriting targeting systems and rerouting defensive shields with nothing but a holoconsole and caffeine-fueled genius. When a Xavar warwalker broke, Through the outer dome, Elias grabbed a railgun turret and manually fired until its core burst into blue flame. Did he just take that thing down alone? A soldier gaped. "Humans are insane," another whispered. "No," Kale said with a grin. "He's bonded." The turning point, but the Zavar weren't done. Commander Threx himself descended from orbit in a blade-winged warship. Towering, augmented, a fusion of flesh and cybernetics, he marched toward the throne ruins with a squadron of elite droids. Elias and Celira met him in the rubble, side by side. "So," Threx growled, voice metallic. "The little princess bonded with a monkey." Elias raised his rifle. "This monkey just cost you half your fleet." "You should have stayed an engineer," Threx sneered. "I am an engineer," Elias replied, "which means I understand." Pressure points. At that moment, a chain of explosions detonated beneath Threx's feet. Mines Elias had set in the ancient foundation. Several droids vanished in fire. But Threx remained. "You'll need more than tricks." Then he charged. The duel, the final battle, was raw and personal. Celira fought Threx with every ounce of inherited power. Her spear clashed with his cyber blades. Sparks flew, debris crumbled, and the old throne room cracked under their fury. Elias joined the fight, dodging blows and launching modified grenades, but Threx was nearly unstoppable. "I will take the bonded," Threx roared, "and she will watch you die." Then he stabbed Elias through the side. Celira screamed. Time slowed. The bond flared, hot and blinding. In a pulse of rage and love, Celira's body erupted with light. She surged forward, shattered Threx's blade, and drove her spear straight through his core. Threx collapsed, dead. The aftermath, Elias lay in a pool of his own blood. Celira cradled him, sobbing. "No, no, 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 stay with me." He touched her face weakly. "Still not used to being stabbed? You're not allowed to die." "I forbid it." He smiled faintly. "Guess we're married now, huh?" "You idiot," she whispered, laughing. Through her tears. "You're going to live." And she was right. Thanks to Aurelian Tech and her refusal to let him go, Elias survived. The coronation weeks later, the war was over. The Zavar fled. Aurelia Prime stood tall again, and in the golden halls rebuilt from ash, Celira was crowned empress, Elias beside her, his hand in hers. The galaxy watched as a human stood beside an alien princess, as equal, as consort, as king. "I give you, not just my heart," Celira said during the bonding ceremony, "but my empire." "And I give you not just my life," Elias replied, "but 1,000 reasons to never rule alone." The crowd cheered. The stars burned brighter. Months passed. Aurelia Prime no longer groaned beneath the weight of war. Towers were rebuilt, gardens rebloomed, and laughter returned to the skywalks. The Empire was healing, but peace brought new tensions. The Intergalactic Council of Neutral Worlds, the Concordance, had summoned Empress Celira to present her new alliance, Aurelia and a human. Her decision to crown Elias not just consort, but co-ruler, was controversial. "You're making a mechanic king," a delegate from the Othari Confederacy had snapped. "He's not just a mechanic," Celira had replied coolly. "He's the reason Aurelia still exists." The human among stars, Elias, wasn't born for palaces. He still stumbled over royal protocol, still tightened bolts on broken drones when no one was looking. But the people loved him. They called him Starbound Consort. Children made wooden models of his old ship, the Firefly wreck, and shopkeepers offered him fruit for free. He stayed humble. Still, every night, he returned to the same rooftop garden, looking out over the new capital. Celira joined him often. "Dao." "You miss Earth?" she asked one night, curling beside him under starlight. "Sometimes. The rain. The smell of metal in a garage. Coffee with questionable taste. You could return." "I could," he said, turning to her. "But I won't." She tilted her head. I'm where I'm meant to be. With you. The Zevar's last. Blade. Just when peace felt secure, the shadows moved again. A final Zevar remnant. General Urosh, Threx's second, emerged from a dark moon, armed with a reality-piercing weapon known as the Phase Breaker. It could open tears in space-time. Collapse planets from the inside. He sent one message. You think the war is over? Fools. I will erase Aurelia before you ever loved. The threat was real. Too real. Worse. Urosh had somehow hijacked the ancient bond echo, a relic capable of severing soul connections between bonded pairs. If activated, Elias and Selira would be torn from each other forever. Body, mind, and spirit. Final flight, Elias and Selira boarded the Eclipse Lance, Aurelia's most advanced starfighter. He piloted. She manned weapons. Together they raced toward the dark moon. On the way, they recorded a message, just in case. Selira looked into the recorder. To the people of Aurelia, if we do not return, know that we chose this, not for duty, but for love. Elias added, and if you ever doubt what one person can mean to a galaxy, just remember, I was a junkyard rat before I found her. The bond beyond in orbit above the dark moon, the final battle erupted. Urosh, clad in adaptive armor, fought like a creature born in black holes. He damaged the ship, overwhelmed the systems, and in one last act, activated the bond severance pulse. Selira screamed as the bond ruptured. Pain seared across both of them. Elias turned to her. I love you. Then he launched himself, alone, into the reactor core. The phase breaker needed a living brain link to stabilize. Elias was the link. He ripped out his interface and forced a manual overload. The weapon collapsed into itself. Selira, watching from the damaged ship, cried out as the moon imploded in white fire. One heartbeat later, silence, then a pulse, a shimmer. Elias appeared on the deck of the Eclipse Lance, alive, smoking, burned but whole. Selira ran to him. How are you? He opened his eyes. I figured, if love can cross galaxies, it can probably outrun death. She kissed him, tears and laughter flooding her voice. You idiot. Brave, stupid, beautiful idiot. The legacy of the bonded 10 years later, under A. The twin sons of a new Aurelia colony, statues stood tall. One of Elias, wrench in hand. One of Selira, spear raised to the stars. They ruled not as conquerors, but as partners. Their bond became a symbol of hope across species. The Aurelian human accord led to the longest peace the galaxy had ever known. And on every anniversary of the Great War's end, the people gathered to hear the story. Of the human who fell from the sky. Of the princess who dared to love, outside her kind. Of a bond forged in war but sealed in something far stronger. Final lines. The hook that returns. One night, under a glass canopy of stars, Selira turned to Elias as they watched their daughter chase firelights across the palace terrace. Tell me again, she whispered. The first words I ever said to you. Elias smiled. Wait, so you are taking me as your life partner, human? He recited, mimicking her excited alien voice. She laughed. And your answer? He kissed her forehead. Always. The end. Did you enjoy the journey? If this story sparked your imagination or made you feel something across galaxies, share it, dream bigger, and never stop believing in impossible love.